Hello and welcome to StreetWise Economics Podcast, where Blooming, Umoren, and we get the privilege of sharing what's going on in the market, economic outlook, what's happening in the crypto market, and from time to time, what's really going on in the market. Like there were big earnings for Nvidia and Salesforce that were reported. So we are going to be talking about that and also some other income generating strategies. Welcome, my friend Blooming.
Thank you so much, buddy. Let's jump in.
Let's jump in. I think the first thing is that the market have been trading in a very volatile fashion. So we are just going to show you what's really happening right now in real time. So right now, what you're seeing on the screen is what's happening in the market. You can see that largely in the US equities market, most stocks actually they are down. You can see that Amazon is actually 0.43% down. And I like to just use the S&P 500, which is a broad indicator that captures different sectors. It is actually just breaking even, but it has been down, right? And for this week, you can see here on this chart that it has been on a downward trend. This is S&P 500. If I was to draw a trend line here, right, you can see the 50 moving average here. It is on a downward trend. And you can also see some spikes. These were major sell-offs because of there was a jump in volume, right, in red. So there was this sell-off and there was this sell-off again, and also this sell-off and this sell-off. And we are going to discuss why we think this is happening. Coach, what's your take on this? But before I get into that, let me also highlight that Nvidia has been also in a downward trend. I remember it was trading around 134 around when it had earnings, I think on Wednesday. But right now it's trading at around $120.77. Coach.
Yes, so market this week has been crazy. Literally, it has been
Yes.
crazy. Today's Friday when we're recording this podcast, and a lot has been going on in the Oval Office for the seven, and I
Yeah.
mean for the seven
President
is
Zelensky.
I mean there's so many things going on. I think today the market started out green, and I was looking, oh, okay, maybe we're going to have a V recovery, but
Yes.
for now, like, yeah, the market has taken a nosedive, and again, all of this is just telling us that there is a lot of volatility in the market. I looked at the fear and greed index
Yes.
this morning. We're around low 20s, meaning that in the extreme greed, both the one
Wow.
for stocks and the one for crypto. So
Mhm.
anytime I see something like this, historically, because I'm a student of the market, I
Mhm.
just know that if I have some cash, I will be deploying, because this is one of the best time to be deploying when the market is fearful. I always like to take cue from the oracle of Oama.
Mhm.
Be fearful when the market is greedy, and be greedy when the market is fearful, meaning that when the market panics, that is when we go shopping. That is when we go shopping for stocks. That's when we go shopping for crypto. But the overall sentiment is very bearish. And because it's
Yes.
bearish, even when Nvidia reported on Wednesday, the market did not even react positively to that. Because why? The overall economic condition is still kind of negative.
Yes.
So as a long-term investor, again, I love to look at this as a good buying opportunity. And yeah, so
Coach,
yes.
first of all, I just want to reiterate and put a disclaimer that this conversation is for educational purposes only. Whatever we discuss here is supposed to be taken as educational content and also entertainment,
Yeah, I mean, this is
content.
just two friends talking about
Yes,
what's going on in the market.
yes,
Don't
yes,
disbelieve what we're saying, okay? Don't just listen that we're
yes.
just having fun.
But we also happen to be, to be traders, retail traders, and retail
Practitioners, yeah.
investors. And actually, in terms of being transparent, the things that we own and then we are buying, we actually share with you guys, not as
Mm-hmm.
investment advice, but it's our money. For me, I'm comfortable taking that risk because we take a lot of time digging into that. I was going to ask you now, if you had money, which sectors or which stocks would you be looking into, not as investment advice? And what sort
Okay.
of things would you be looking at?
So because I'm a long-term investor and I tend to lean more on the tech side, and because this is what I tend to just gravitate naturally towards, I'm just going to be DCAing into my long-term stocks. For me, the ones that I own for my long-term: Tesla, Palantir, Nvidia, Apple, and also MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy is more of a short to medium-term strategy for myself. But for my long-term conviction, like Palantir, Tesla, Apple, and also Nvidia, I'm just DCing into it. But that is my own personal strategy, and I'm
Mhm.
only comfortable with, because again, I've done my own research and I'm comfortable with the risk. But there's so many opportunities in the market: Costco, Walmart. I mean, whatever tickles your fantasy. But I'm just saying that for me personally, that's what I'm
Yes, of
doing.
course.
But in addition to doing the long-term strategy, just the same way that we've been talking this week, that hey, I'm also generating passive income in the market using cover call strategy. So you can
Yeah,
use cover call strategy, or for example, if you want to own some stocks later on, maybe at a much lower price point, you can use the cash secured put. So
secured puts.
again,
Yeah.
these are just things that I'm doing in the market to generate passive income. But aside from that, I think that this is just a great buying opportunity if you're a long-term investor and you have some stock that you've done your research, you're comfortable with the risks, and just this year, that's it.
That's wonderful. And I think I wanted to chip in to say, I think what is also causing the market to be volatile is also the uncertainty that comes around with tariffs. You know, as the saying
Tariffs,
goes
yes.
to say, the threat of a tariff is as good as the actual tariff itself. So President
Yeah,
Trump indicated that next week on Tuesday, they are actually, the tariffs will come into effect for Canada, Mexico,
in
um,
China.
China, and probably is looking into the EU and other countries. And what this means, generally, tariffs is more like a tax, right,
Yeah.
to the domestic consumers. Or in this case, I think in that case, it means they are going to be paying more because, and usually it takes some time for the domestic companies to actually ramp up production for the things that may be on the tariff list, right?
Yep.
Because it's basically, if it's 25%, it means if something was costing a barrel of oil or crude was $100, it means it's now $125 to the domestic,
Yep.
stakeholder, in that case, whether American. So, but the idea is to support domestic, industries. So
Hmm.
whether they are going to come into effect or they are actually going to be followed through, that's another thing. But the market prices this uncertainty. Also, I see in Canadian market, the uncertainty has also been increasing as well. So what that means is that if I had some money, I would have been looking at companies that can be affected by these tariffs that are really, really dropping below my buy level. In other words, the intrinsic values, and that have wonderful uh, management and
Yes.
wonderful financial statements and balance sheet. Then I would be looking into possibly deploying some capital for the long term, and I mean 10, 15 years. Now,
Yep.
on my trading aspect in this volatile market, I've been lucky that I've been a profitable trader starting from last year, and this year so far has been good. For those who check out my video, I just did another video. It has been going really, really well. And one thing that I've been learning in these volatile markets is that I have to stick to things that I understand. I like to trade Nvidia and the volatility index. Right now it's elevated, so I'm not trading the VIX ETFs because I don't want to get a haircut. Now I'm trading the equities which have been down because I consider them to be depressed and there's a good possibility of an upside. Now, I don't just jump into any other trade without
Hmm.
doing, due diligence. Now, Coach Blooming and I, we like to teach people about that. So if you want to learn more about how to trade profitably, whether it's crypto, or investing and trading in the financial markets, be sure to reach out to any one of us. We'll put our respective websites here. And don't forget to subscribe on this website. Coach, do you want to comment before we move on to discuss a little bit about the economic data and then the crypto segment.
Yes, so I think despite the volatility in the market, it's important to separate the noise from the myths, the
Yes.
noise from the main course. Yes, we're experiencing a lot of uncertainty in the market, a lot of volatility in the market, the impact of tariffs on both the US and Canada and all other nations. We don't know the impact yet.
Mhm.
But if we separate the noise from the myth in the sense that AI infrastructure is being put in place, a lot of things are still going on in the AI space. I listened to Nvidia's earnings call and I was super, super bullish about the prospect, about what the future
Mhm.
really holds in the market. I think this week also, Apple announced about 500 billion that will be invested in the US. That is
Mhm.
again AI infrastructure. So when I see all of this big corporation investing heavily, it's just a signal to say that they are laying the groundwork for for an amazing next year, next 5 years, next 10 years. And if you believe that well, the AI play is just starting, I'm going to position myself into strategic companies. So yes, there's a lot of uncertainty in the market. There is tariff. We don't know what 47 is going to say. That might spook the market. But in the long run, if you're a long-term investor, just invest in fundamentally strong companies and you'll be fine over a long period of time. So that's all I have
That
to say for now.
that's wonderful, coach. And I like to say, I think at the end of the day, when it comes to making decisions, I want to act in the short term, but have the long term in mind. And that
Yeah.
brings me to the economic data. This week has been very, very, very interesting. There was the consumer confidence, which came actually much lower than expected. The forecast was 102, it came at 93.2. And what this means is that consumers' confidence is declining, and that might potentially slow down some sectors in the US. Now, new home sales, they came lower than expected. The forecast was 679,000, and what this means is people didn't buy as much houses as the analysts anticipated. But compared to even the last time this data was dropped, it also declined. So that might be something I would consider a negative thing in some respect on the housing sector. But like I've always seen, there's always, you have to look at both sides of the coin. If something is going bad, usually sometimes for other stakeholders, it might be actually a good thing. Now,
Mm.
if I look at the durable orders, they went up. So it means this sector, it ticked up 3.1% compared to the 2.0 that was anticipated. The interesting thing was the GDP was 2.3%. That means the gross domestic product, the US economy is resilient, right? So we will see. I think the good thing, it's important to look at the moving average. Let's say if you are looking at 6 weeks rather than just looking at it as one data point. But I like to look at this data, especially when I'm trading, because when this data is dropped, the market usually reacts, sometimes spikes up and spikes down. And that's good for my trading and sometimes even for some long-term positions. Initial jobless claims, they jumped uh, actually to 242,000 from 220 versus the 222,000 people who were forecast. What this means is that if this trend continues, more and more people will be unemployed, and that can kind of depress the economics or maybe their disposable income, assuming they didn't have a lot of other income streams to kind of like fend that off. Now, this was the big thing. I wrote an article on my Substack, and I was anticipating that if this came as a blowout, higher, much inflation, much higher than expected, I was expecting that the S&P 500 was going to drop even to the 5,900 to actually drop to another level because high inflation, it potentially, you know, the Fed, usually their mandate, they want to keep inflation, core inflation as 2%, right? So what this means is that if inflation is going up, they might have to maybe consider hiking, the possibility, should I say, of hiking interest rates in the near future. There should be a March meeting for the Federal Open Market commit, I think, and then there could be the Jackson Hole. So there's a lot of things that will be happening. And at the end of the day, these sentiments, these powerful individuals in authority say they can possibly spook the market. But in conclusion, this is what next week will be like. There's a lot of data points. And what this means is that I expect a lot of more volatility, and it's good for my trading. If the market is going to continue dropping, I'm going to be picking up some more shares, and I'm a big fan of investing through the ETFs that track the S&P 500 each time they pull back, and a few individual companies that are fundamentally strong. Coach, do you have any comment before we can move on to the crypto segment?
Yeah, so I think again, it's just part of what I reiterated before, that the market is volatile. The market is giving us great buying opportunity. And if you believe in the long-term thesis of some great companies, this is an excellent time to just this year. The reason why I'm saying that is because we saw even this week, not just Nvidia, Palantir. I mean, Palantir went as high as 125, was it not? Around not last week, and this week it went
Yes.
as low as 87. If you believe in the long-term
Even 80
thesis,
today, I think, 80
yeah,
something.
yeah. So for me, my goal is to use the cash secured put and just buy Palantir. That's one of my goals. So it maybe if Palantir reaches around 70, that neighborhood, I think I would be glad to just, do some CSP on that. But apart from that, like if we're a long-term investor, I'm just happy that we have this opportunity that the market is presenting to us, and we'll just use it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it. And this story has happened before, but again, past
Mhm.
returns or data does not necessarily guarantee that that's what's really going to happen in the future. But again and again, I've noticed that each time I've invested in fundamentally strong businesses, they tend to bounce back,
Yep.
right? If I get in at a good price. Now, coach, crypto, it went down to over 80,000, I think.
Yes.
And what's your comment on that? Do you think it was a good buying opportunity? What's going on in the crypto space in a nutshell?
Oh, there's so much going on in crypto right now. And sometimes I don't even check my portfolio. Like
Yeah,
I don't remember checking my portfolio even this year. The
yeah,
only time I just do is just okay, I want to buy and that's it. I buy and just forget
yes,
about it. Because why? I think I was listening to Tom Lee. Tom Lee said, I think around December, it was
yeah.
like, oh, Bitcoin can go as low as $60,000 before going to 250. So before going to 250K, it can go as low as 60,000. Maybe it might go to 60, maybe it might drop to 70, maybe it
Mhm.
might drop to 75. A lot of people are going to panic. As I said earlier, I looked at the fear and greed index for crypto and it was in the extreme fear. And I recall 2021, 22, no, it was not 2021, 2022, 23. I remember seeing the greed and the fear index around 7 and 8. And that would have been one of the most fantastic time to just buy crypto. And I'm seeing the opportunity repeat itself again. If you're a long-term believer in Bitcoin, if you believe that this is an asset that's going to appreciate over time, I would just be DCAing. But if you don't believe in
And
the long-term
again, this is
of
not
Bitcoin,
investment advice,
don't
right?
do it. Bitcoin is very volatile. If you
Yeah.
don't believe that this is going to reach $1 million in the 2030s, then don't invest. But if you believe in the long-term thesis that this is an asset that I can just park my money and let it just preserve my wealth over time, then I'll buy Bitcoin. And but that is me. I own Bitcoin, I own Ethereum, I own Cardano, Solana, and some bunch of other meme coins. Okay. But I only invest the amount that I can afford to lose. A lot of people
Smart.
come into crypto and they want to make fast money. I'm like,
Oh,
no,
boy.
don't make fast money. If you don't have your 3 to 6 monthly living expenses saved up in a high yield savings account, if you don't have any debt, then
Yeah.
you can play in investing. So for me, I do stocks, I do crypto,
Yeah.
but even the crypto that I'm doing, Bitcoin went as well as I think 79,000 this week, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not even panicking. I'm not scared. I'm
Yeah.
excited. I'm like, oh, I need more cash to buy this. So
Yes.
again, saying all of this, I know it could be like, oh, I'm saying the same thing every now and then because I've seen this play out before. The
Mm-hmm.
best time to buy is in the bear market. Billionaires, millionaires are made in the bear market because why? The market will eventually recover, and by the time the market comes back roaring, you're sitting on a lot of money. So a lot of amateur investor or beginner investors, they want to buy when Bitcoin has gone to 150, 170, 180. And that is when the pro are literally taking their profit
Their
out of the
profits.
market. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
taking the
And they'll be
profit in
left
the
to holding the
180s,
bag.
190s. Yeah. So
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
despite the fact that crypto is volatile, if you have some cash that you're willing to lose and you have a long-term thesis, I'll do Bitcoin.
I think that's fantastic. And I think that's something that I've been looking at, as a retail investor to say, look, I have been wondering, like, how much money do you need, like, to be a profitable trader and to make meaningful money? One thing that I've seen that is important and which you highlighted, Coach Blooming, is that it's important to have an emergency fund saved up. I noticed that if I have that secured, even I'm not in a hurry to make trades. Like today, for example, I did a few trades, but I just waited until, the stock that I was trading, Nvidia, it came down just before the podcast. I got in and I made a few couple of dollars. That's it. I was not in a hurry and I was okay to say, look, if today I'm profitable, at least I make a couple of dollars. That's fine. I'm not in a hurry. And if it means that day I'm not going to make any trade, that's fine. I don't need that money to be paying rent or meet the short-term, financial needs. Now, in conclusion, Coach, is there anything that you want to share to the, audience? Usually I get a lot of questions, and just to
Mhm.
answer that, before you jump in, I think the most important thing is to start with what you have after educating yourself. We I got in the Uber recently, and the driver, we got in the conversation, and naturally it went towards trading and investing. And I was like, are you also investing? Because they were asking me a lot of questions. And they were like, what? I have a lot of bills, mortgages, and stuff like that, right? I can't even afford to have any money. But this is something that I often find. And of course, people have different circumstances. I think sometimes, even if you start with $100 or $200, right? Now the key thing is knowing where to invest in that, right? That money. And if you can invest in wonderful companies, then that money can slowly grow, and also starting small can build your mental and psychological stamina as well, rather than just
Yeah.
starting with a lot of money and then you get a haircut, you panic, you sell, you lose the money.
Yeah, I think you said a very, very important point. Like, no matter the work that we're doing, meaning that if you have a business or you have a professional career that you're pursuing, it's very important to still invest because we
Yes.
can't save our way into financial freedom. You can't just save your money in the bank and expect that it's going to give you the financial freedom that you need.
Unless you make
Start
millions like
wherever.
the C-suite guys who can make
Just
millions.
Just start wherever you are exactly. But even with that, you still need to invest. We've seen a lot of maybe professional athletes that were very good. They had a lot of millions when they were still active, but because they didn't invest that money successfully, effectively, they still went broke. All I'm just saying is that no matter the career that we're pursuing, it's just important to invest, but learn. Learn. Even if you're not like, oh, I don't know what stocks to buy. S&P 500. Do the
Yeah.
Nasdaq. That's a basket of goods. You can't lose your money if you invest in the S&P 500 for the long term.
But
At
coach,
least it has returned
I'm
10%
gonna
annually.
I'm gonna interject very respectively. But I've talked to people with finance degrees and stuff. They just don't, some of them, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, they are like, what are you talking about? I think for you, what has been that thing? I know you have a degree in MBA and also
It's not
economics,
even that,
yeah, and accounting.
buddy. But I had all these degrees, but I was not even smart with money. I was not even invested
And I would
because,
see the
yeah,
indices and these numbers on TV, and they didn't make sense until I started paying attention and learning and just reading, right? And plowing into this. And I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and I know I'm gonna make some other mistakes. Hopefully, they are not going to be ruinous.
I think that the most important thing is just to know that, hey, we need to be students of the market wherever you are, even if it's just $100 that you can invest. But first of all, educate yourself. Education is so important, and that's
Mhm.
why it's just crucial to learn from practitioners, people that have been where you're trying to get to. That's the role of a mentor. That's the role of a coach. Because why? A mentor or a coach has gone through the same mistake that you're about to go through. And if you
Mhm.
just pay for that knowledge, you're going to get to where you're going way much faster. You're going to compound your wealth way much faster because why? You won't fall into the same trap that this person has fallen into. The role of just educating ourselves about the market is so crucial that
Yes.
because sometimes I get messages, hey Blooming, I want to invest in stocks. What stock should I buy? Oh Blooming, I want to buy crypto. Okay, which crypto should I buy? And I'm like, you've not even taken the time to invest in your education first, and that is the most important thing. The
Mhm.
process of buying and selling stocks is going to take less than 30 seconds. But if you don't understand the dynamics, the nuances of the market, you're
Yeah.
going to lose your money. But a lot of people would not pay attention to that. Why do we win in the market? It's because we're students of the market. We educate ourselves about what is going on in the market. And that's where
How
the
can I
winning
do that
strategy
if I have
is.
a full-time job, coach? I have 9 to 5 job. Again, I'm just pulling your
Like
leg.
seriously,
Yeah,
some
but
of my students, they
yeah,
have 9 to 5, but we still have our lessons later in the evenings. If it's just 1 hour in a week, 2 hours in a week, dedicated to understanding the market. Because why? The moment you understand how to play in the market, something changes psychologically about the way you approach money. Why are
yes.
we confident to talk about the market? Why are we saying, yes, I'm going to invest even when the market is panicking, even when the market is red? It's because we've studied this thing, we understand how this game works. Money is a game. If you understand how to play it, you're going to win. But if you don't understand it, you're going to keep losing. You're going to keep walking till your bones shiver. So again, Isaac and I, we're excited to talk about what's going on in the market. We are happy to talk about it. We wake up, we're talking about, oh, did you see what happened on
Yes.
Bloomberg? Did you see what happened in the Oval Office? Did you see what 47 is saying? We're comfortable talking about that because why? We learn. The moment you understand how to play this money game, we're talking about cover call, we're talking about cash secure put, we're talking about investing in these long-term strong companies. It's
And
because
how
we've
has
taken
that been
to learn.
liberating, coach? Learning about covered calls. I know you have been making some
See,
money whilst you are holding fundamentally strong companies. It's like you're collecting rent whilst holding those wonderful companies, right? But you need a lot of money, like sometimes to get into those good companies at a good price, right? But again, you have to start somewhere.
start wherever you are. Because
Yes.
why? If I look back, and I wish that I've been selling covered calls for the past 4 or 5 years, I've left over 100K on the table because of this ignorance. And I'm
Yes.
telling you that ignorance is going to cost you more if you keep ignoring how to play in the market. Because I'm telling you that I'm just like, what, buddy? Why haven't I been selling
Yeah,
covered
the money was
calls?
credited. As soon as you sell the covered calls, the money is credited. If the stock then doesn't get to where your strike price, you keep the money, the premium. But if it goes up, you just lose the potential upside. So you win in both cases, in my view, right?
Yep,
And your risk is kept in a way. So, and I
yep.
was telling you, my friend, that Warren Buffett, I think from what I've seen, is one of the best options traders. And I attended this course, and one of the things this guy actually mentioned, I'm not going to mention their name, but it was like you can use options strategies to generate extra income, because if you can make that other compounding return, and if that stock appreciates, but even if it's going down, you are hedging your portfolio. And
Yep.
I have one of my students who was telling me like, oh, I'm sleeping with shoes on the bed. It's, I'm getting smoked. And the other thing is, sometimes I think that's where experience and the coaching comes in, because we spend a lot of time on the market, monitoring. Like for me, usually that's my full-time job. And
Mhm.
I've made some mistakes, but at the end of the day, sometimes paying someone, at least for their time, can actually save you money, as long as you see value. Because some people,
Mhm.
they say, look, you guys, you're charging money, but I'm spending my time. And that's not to say I can't give back if there is need to. But if you have a portfolio for 500,000, even if I charge you 1,000 or 2,000, you are still likely going to lose it anyways, because you are losing potential upside. You are paying a lot of fees. And at the end of the day, if you don't approach someone who understands how to manage money, or even financial professionals, it's still, you are losing money anyways. Anyway, I
I
want
yeah,
you to wrap up as well, coach, and give a comment as much as you want, but so
yeah,
that we also wrap up the conversation. I know we
yeah.
can talk and talk.
If most people don't pay for knowledge, but they pay more with ignorance.
Yes.
Again, most people don't pay for knowledge and they end up paying more with ignorance. We're a student of the market. We love to talk about the market, but this is a tool that is so liberating, because the moment you understand how to play the money game, something changes about how you approach money. We're excited to talk about the stock market. We're excited to talk about crypto, but that's only because we've invested in learning about this thing. And I always like to say, just to wrap up this session, that no matter the career or the education or whatever you studied in school, if you're not playing in the market, if you're not investing,
Mhm.
you're wasting time. You're wasting time. So, but again, the market is red today. I'm going to go do some shopping with some stocks.
Yeah.
Before the market closes, I'm going to buy some stocks. And as always, may the market always be in our favor.
Yes, my friend, and I see the market is still red, and
Red, yeah.
probably I'm gonna make some trades, but I think for today I had a profitable day, which is good. I'm gonna be editing this video and working on some other things. That's the beautiful thing about, working in the market, the flexibility of it. Again, trade and invest wisely, and may the markets be on your side. See you on the other side on the next video next week. Bye bye for now. Thank you for tuning in.